The air in Money, Mississippi, hung heavy and humid that August night in 1955. It was a suffocating, insect-filled stillness that felt more like a warning than a calm. Inside the small, weathered house, 14-year-old Emmett Till was deep in the restless sleep of a boy far from his home in Chicago. He didn't know that the small, playful, perhaps misunderstood, whistle he'd let out at the general store a few days prior had already set a monstrous chain of events into motion. He didn't know that in this part of the world, for a boy like him, innocence was a luxury he couldn't afford. The silence of the night was shattered by the harsh, abrasive sound of a truck engine cutting through the darkness, followed by heavy, purposeful footsteps on the wooden porch. The door creaked open, not with a knock, but with the violence of a forced entry. Flashlights cut through the gloom like jagged blades, pinning Emmett against his bed. When the rough hands grabbed him, they didn't care about his youth or his fear. They only cared about a social order they were determined to protect with blood. As they dragged him out into the night, Emmett's aunt begged for his life, offering them money, anything, to leave the boy alone. They laughed. It was a hollow, chilling sound that promised there would be no mercy. The drive to the Tallahatchie River was a blur of shadows and terror. In the back of that truck, stripped of his clothes and his humanity, Emmett was beaten with a savage, mechanical efficiency. Each blow was meant to punish not just the boy, but the very idea of a black man standing tall in their presence. By the time they reached the riverbank, Emmett was broken, but his spirit, that bright, Chicago city light, was being systematically extinguished. When the gun fired, the sound was quickly swallowed by the rushing water. Days later, when his body was pulled from the river, it was unrecognizable. But back in Chicago, Mamie Till-Mobley refused to hide the evidence of that night. She looked at her son, the boy she had raised to be gentle and proud, and made a decision that would shake the foundations of a nation. She ordered the funeral director to leave the casket open. Thousands of people lined the streets of Chicago, but it was the silence inside the funeral home that spoke the loudest. When the lid was lifted, the world was forced to look. They saw what hatred looked like in its rawest form. They saw the face of a child, distorted and destroyed, a testament to a cruelty that could no longer be ignored. Through her tears, Mamie looked at the thousands who had come to bear witness and said, "I want the world to see what they did to my boy." In that moment, a boy's death stopped being a tragedy in the shadows and became the clarion call for a movement that would change history forever.